strong families, reading and writing, academics, sports, financial prosperity, love, and so much more I can name. That's Dripping in Black.
Welcome to the Dripping in Black podcast, where we celebrate Black excellence throughout the Black diaspora. Here's your host, David V. Lewis.
What's up, good people all across the world? This is the Dripping in Black podcast. I am your host, David V. Lewis. And as always, we have another fantastic guest. Today's guest is Dorian S. Withrow Jr. Dorian, say hello to the world.
What's going on, world? Appreciate you for having me.
So, as our audience knows, we have a loaded but simple question that we like to ask each and every one of our guests to get it started. And that question is, who is our guest? So who is Dorian Withrow Jr.?
I am a kind person. I consider myself to be very caring about, the individuals that look like me in my community. I'm a person that is seeking to spread my, I would say, gifts and abilities to others so that they can help themselves and the people around them.
Yeah, that's dope. We'll dive a lot into those things and those ideas. Those are principles that I think is a lot more too. And so, as I was stating, we don't really know each other. So I want to start with a simple question of where are you from?
From Buffalo, New York. I got in contact with Mr. Jones. He's over in Detroit. He runs Class Act Detroit. And
Okay.
We actually did a podcast with him where we went to visit the initiative he's trying to get going. I think he's close to finishing up, I believe. And I got in contact with him. He brought a few guys, their platform. I learned a little bit about it. And I sent the contact through like he recommended. And now we're here.
Okay. All right. So Buffalo, New York, born and raised in Buffalo?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about your upbringing.
Two-parent household. I grew up in the inner city, and I moved into a more suburban area, slightly more suburban area, as I aged. And I had my academic troubles, not necessarily behavioral troubles, but
Okay.
yeah, I think it was like any other childhood, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Buffalo, born and raised, two-parent household. Did you say you started in the city and ended up in a suburban area, or were you always
Yeah, my
in
mother
suburban?
she wanted a safer and better school
Mm-hmm.
for myself and my brother. I have one younger brother. He's about 3 years younger. And
Okay.
from there, it kind of went.
Okay. And so the school system that you initially started in, were you having academic challenges there, or did the challenges start once you left from the inner city into the suburban area?
Started and carried over.
Okay.
So learning was something that it's not, school system is not adjusted for everybody. There are certain
Yeah.
things that can be changed, and it's always addressed. It's about just implementing those changes within learning styles, comprehension, and working through some of those issues. So for me, it was that, and slowly but surely overcame that as I aged.
So you talked about the academic struggles, but I know that you have a degree and you're working on a second degree, right?
Yes, sir.
So you went from a student that struggled from the beginning, right? Initially in school, and it carried over as you went into a different school district in what was called a better school, yet you still were able to overcome that and get your degrees, right? Get your degree and working on your second degree. All right. So that's kind of where I was headed with that. So let's talk about You wear a lot of hats. Let's talk about the first hat you put on with the various things. So when I mean hats, the information that you provided us, you're a speaker, an author, an activist, a martial artist, a philosopher, a scholar. All right. Which hat was the first hat that you put on out of those?
Activist, activist and speaker kind of went hand in hand. So
Okay.
my parents involved me in a lot of youth programs, and there I was able to learn about activism, um, and how to approach it was public speaking. So through a lot of the programs I went through, there was a speaking
Mm-hmm.
component, talking in front of a lot of large audience in a church
Mm-hmm.
or a conference, something like that, and went over everything you need to know about speaking. And from there was kind of the start in high school. That was about early to mid high school, more
Okay.
so the speaking. Um, and the programs I joined later, they had to deal more with activism. So in that way, I
Okay.
learned about the troubles in the community and some of the aspects, components to combat a lot of those issues.
Mm. Yeah, let's park there for a minute. Specific. What were some of the troubles in the community that you were drawn to, and how did you go about combating those things?
Yeah, so it's a slew. So I would say violence, general violence.
Mm,
I kind of loop it in. Um, Gun violence is something that's said to be on the decline here, but still an issue.
mm,
And fighting among the youth is one of them as well. And the other issues include domestic violence.
mm,
They include um, general issues with schooling as well. The suspension rates we have among our youth
mm,
of color
mm,
and the detention rates,
mm,
the maltreatment that we experience, and then the in-home environments and how they can improve as well.
mm. Yeah, and so two questions. The first question is, what about these issues drew you to step up and speak to and be active
Yeah.
about shedding light on those things and then combating those things? What made you say this is something I need to step up and do?
It was almost like intrinsic. When I say that, I mean like, it was there's something that just you're passionate about. Like you don't have
Yeah.
a serious or clear answer for. Um, and for me, it was just like you don't want to see certain things. Like certain things just bother you. Certain things just bug you. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, it was a compilation of those things. And I went into that area because it's causing the dysfunction, the lack of skills for conflict resolution, and the skills for communication, effective communication.
Mm-hmm.
And the resources that we have here in some areas aren't sufficient for people to obtain income or see different from their situation to strive for something different. And therefore, we kind of just a small part of it, but we build a cycle of trouble on that. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
for me, that's why I find that very important. Why I was kind of drawn to those things in particular, but among other things
Mm-hmm.
too.
At what age did you what age did you get active in trying to combat learning about this, speaking about this, and trying to combat it?
17, 16. It was
Mm-hmm.
in the programs. It all kind of blended almost. So I can't it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to give you a definitive age, but I would say around there. Um
Okay.
and that was a time of developing the tools to combat it, public speaking, for instance, and learning about campaigns, um, being involved in Juneteenth and doing some marches we have here in the past, um, and also just learning about our history as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what also fed it too, like fed the desire to combat those issues. Like learning about our history really dove me into seeing how it connected into now, those troubles,
Mm-hmm.
and wanting to almost naively undo, you know, what was
Yeah.
done or the results of it, consequences that we face now and are
Yeah.
prevalent within people today.
Yeah. Yeah. That made me think about, and I'm gonna try to be short with this. Hopefully I'll get it down like I want to say it. But I watch NBA on TNT all the time, and Kenny Smith was talking about their run as a champion when he was with the Rockets, and he was talking about the need for having people on the team that were delusional. Like they had to believe in the impossible for them to
Yeah.
actually achieve that championship, and so we have such a myriad of issues within our community that seems insurmountable. And if you look at it from that perspective, people will not get out and get active about it. So you have to have a touch of that naivety that you spoke of to actually even jump in and get involved and think that I can change these things, right? That's at the
Yeah.
core of you actually activating that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think you hear it a lot of time on the street, even when you're talking anybody really. These issues are so prevalent, there's so much. There's like it's just tough to combat. There doesn't seem to be a way out, and
Mm-hmm.
people get boxed in to thinking that why try? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it may get better over time, but not tomorrow. Uh, It may get better over time, but it'll take a few years. But why not put your efforts into solving or attempting to solve the issues, doing your part to, you know, alleviate the problems people face every day within the homes, schools, and out in the community. We can't get necessarily, I don't say boxed in again, but we can't go into this corner of despair almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like nothing can be done or nothing can be improved.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we know our history, we know we've been through a lot and come through a lot. Right. And so things aren't like we would want them to be, but they're certainly a lot better than they once were. And that's because
Yes.
people got active. Right. All right. Very good. So let's talk a little bit about some of these other things. I'm interested in the martial arts. All right. So talk about your journey into that.
Well, I was always interested in it. I think you'd see a lot of the movies like the old karate ones, then Jeet Kune Do like Bruce Lee and Kung Fu ones. Ip Man, IP Man. So it was a collective of those that got me interested in like fighting because it just looked fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I always sought to learn, but I didn't. We didn't really necessarily have the resources to at the time, and I didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
resources. My grandfather actually introduced me to Ishinru karate, and he would take
Okay.
us out over by the water, and we would practice every weekend or every other weekend whenever he had time. And that eventually slowed down, but I was a little older and I got a job and I was able to obtain the income to go do martial arts myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not cheap, but yeah. So it started with the fascination through movies and practicing through my grandfather. So he was the catalyst, I would say, for moving into martial arts. And later
Okay.
I went into ITF Taekwondo. And there's a difference between
Mm-hmm.
ITF and WTF.
Mm-hmm.
WTF is the stuff you see in the Olympics, like the only kicking and, you know, they have
Mm-hmm.
beautiful stuff. But ITF, I would think, is a lot more well rounded.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy it. I started 2019 and I stuck with it. I'm doing very well now. And it's something
Mm-hmm.
to kind of occupy my time. I'm learning more about myself all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost therapy to me.
Okay. All right. So what's your belt?
First degree.
Okay.
And
And so go ahead.
yeah, in ITF Taekwondo, there's 9 belts, 9 black
Okay.
belts. So first, second, third, all the way up to 9. and
Okay.
they're doubled by like the amount of. So for me, it would take 1 year to get the second degree, 2 years to get to third, 3 years
Mm,
to get to fourth. So that it would kind of follow along like that. Um, it's very time consuming at times, depending on how much you practice, but it varies. And it's also, I think, fulfilling, but it's kind of an investment. It's an education you can take on and give to, the community as well, give to people so that they can learn the things that
mm-hmm,
they wouldn't necessarily be able to go to or afford.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Because I think that's a big thing with us too. A lot of the martial arts schools or places to learn self-defense aren't within the community.
mm-hmm,
And it bleeds into the conflict resolution I was talking about. And
mm-hmm,
engagement in violence, when you do martial arts or any form of fighting, you learn that, I mean, for one, it's dangerous and the potentials for injury you
mm-hmm,
don't necessarily have if you don't get involved in that stuff. So you understand violence a little bit more, and you're able to use it to protect yourself and others.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So martial arts is not really, and I'm gonna speak kind of what I understood about martial arts. It's really not something you want to get into so you can go out and start whooping people's ass, right?
No,
It's really something that's designed to give you tenets on how to do more conflict resolution, right? Am I correct in that, or am I off base somewhere?
I would hope people use it for that. Now, every
Mm-hmm.
art has its own kind of philosophy or thing. You know what I mean? Um, ITF Taekwondo art tenets is courtesy, perseverance, indomitable
Mm-hmm.
spirit, self-control, um, and more to it. But you learn those combinations of principles that you can apply to yourself and your interactions with other people in the world, so that you behave accordingly and to the best of your ability in your dealings with others. So that's the importance of having philosophy within or guidelines for conducting yourself in the art, so that you don't
Yeah.
misuse it on people.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's dive a little deeper into you. You have a corporation called Withrow LLC, and you're
Yes, sir.
also an author of, I have 4 books. Right. Talk a little bit about those 2 things.
I started my LLC. A friend of mine actually, he brought it up to me. I was working on the book stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, you should start it, get a business going, because you got these ideas of helping people produce their own literature." And later, working with healing circles, and I was like, "Okay." So he put me on to the college has a section of their space dedicated to helping women obtain business stuff and dealings. Wasn't really for men, but I went to there to get it done. And he told me that.
Mm,
Side note, I was there actually going to get the LLC formed, or to have a meeting, at least the initial one, to talk about what you want to do. I remember I was waiting on the bench, and it was just like, "Oh, this is the women's business office." I was like, "Yeah, no, I was just coming." And it was like, there's a lady at the desk. They were fine. They were like, "Come on through with you." Some people are a little exclusive, but
mhm,
that's yeah. But I started that, and I got my website going. I thought about it. I'm like, well, I really want to make some cash, but I also want to help people do what I do as well.
mhm,
So I started my self-publishing sessions to help people self-produce, self-publish their own literature,
mhm,
so they're able to gain all the knowledge and necessary resources to make it happen. They avoid a lot of the mistakes I did, and you avoid a lot of the gatekeeping and um, delays that you would have if you were doing it on your own. And not only that, but like the marketing side and some of the tips for you know writing well and producing.
mhm,
So I do have 4 books. I co-authored the first one, Speak on Brown People Speak. Alberta
mhm,
Lampkins, shout out to her. She's the one that helped me produce my first self-published book and set the tone for me to produce every other book as well. So she
Okay.
taught me what I needed to know to become self-sufficient in producing my own books. And I wanted to be that for other people as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful to her. And I hope that people listen to that and also think about the people that help them obtain their skills or help them do what they want to do and make it into their own thing, help them produce their own stuff and guide
Mm-hmm.
them and not necessarily gatekeep in a sense or um, hold hostage their knowledge to make someone else's life well, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your let's take a week in your life, a typical week. How are you slicing up your time? What are you got all these hats that you're wearing? What are you contributing from a weekly, or if you have to extrapolate a little further out, how do you spend time in each of these endeavors um, throughout your schedule?
Right. So coming towards the tail end of summer in terms of school. So that'll be starting back up. And it's a little dry these days. I do taekwondo. I
Mm-hmm.
type a little bit here and there for my next book. So I do some work there. Um, Sending a lot of emails, trying to get in contact with great guys like yourself to get out there a little bit more. And it's really a lot more on the communication side these past 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, working and it's nothing spectacular. It's kind of boring, but it's
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with it.
Uh-huh. What is working?
Working. So I work with people with disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
and it it's character building, but at the same time, it's also a job I can make some money on the side, still help get
Mm-hmm.
the money for school so that I can
Mm-hmm.
stay out of debt and
Mm-hmm.
do what I want to
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
I've been actually hanging out with family a bit more. My brother and uncle. We've been going to the gym more and
Mm-hmm.
spending some time. I Yeah, so family time is also important to me. I like to engage and talk to them, have fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the picture's coming clear for me. All right. So basically, what I'm hearing is you got a job, a 9 to 5, and that's the constant that you have, but you have greater aspirations to do some other things.
Yes.
So the 9 to 5 kind of stabilizes you, allow you to go to school and do and set the foundation for the things that you are wanting to do. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So good. So you have this vision for assisting others and having them learn the things that you've learned along the way. On a scale of 1 to 10, how is that going for you so far? With 1 being this sucks and 10 being this is spectacular.
When you apply what you've learned to yourself and move throughout your day, it's not necessarily like the business aspects or um it's just walking out on the street. If you see something wrong, maybe your level of involvement maybe depending on what the situation is. I had a situation. It was I remember I was at a train station and there was a fight about to happen. So I had gotten the authorities involved to help, just separate the two, dissolve the situation. And I was contacting somebody about it, and he was like, you shouldn't get involved. You shouldn't do
Mm-hmm.
that because, and I understand the risk. You
Mm-hmm.
called you, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, for me, it's like it's not this being a hero or a macho thing. It's just like, again, who's gonna reduce the issue? Who's gonna alleviate the problem? Who's gonna
Mm-hmm.
come to not be Superman, but to help reduce some of the problems that we face? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what? And being complacent and allowing something to happen, kind of just you fall in line then. And then are you
Mm-hmm.
really? this person that wants to change? Are you really this person that
Mm-hmm.
are you really as brave as you think you are, as courageous as you think you are? Are you really
Mm-hmm.
this person that really wants to help people? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Outside
Right.
of that, there's I like to carry a book with me when I'm out and about. I walk with my pants around my waist, and when I talk to people, it's kind. When I talk to people, my speech is
Mm-hmm.
clear,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to make sure that if I can help somebody, whether with some small advice or um, minor need, then I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with engaging people. So living through your day to day, kind of learning what you've learned, either in school or in life, mentor, coach, whatever it may be. How can you act out what you've learned and shed some light on everyday activities and help others?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm still going to stay on my point, which is
Yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 10, how you envision the impact you're trying to have in the world around you right now. Where would you place it? Is it 1, like what I'm doing sucks, or 10, what I'm doing is fantastic, or somewhere in between on that scale? Where would you rank it currently?
I would say I'll give myself a 7.
Okay.
Now, I say that in comparison to others, and some people may disagree with that and don't do that. But but I want to strive for the best that I can do,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be at the top of the mountain for whatever I'm
Mm-hmm.
striving to do.
Mm-hmm.
So when I give myself a 7, what others may consider a 10 is in relation to others that are really doing phenomenal stuff in their community,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
10 times more than what I'm doing or what I think I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing. And
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see myself really get up there with those people that are really pushing the boundaries and making things happen, the movers
Mm-hmm.
and shakers like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that leads into my next thing. So let's say we had a switch that we can hit, and we flip that switch, and you are exactly where you want to be, impacting lives the way you want to impact them. What does that look like? Right? What does your life entail? Um, what are the outcomes that you're accomplishing when you've reached the 10 and you're doing exactly what you want to do?
I would say selling more books and
Mm,
really having dialogue with mass audiences about self improvement and improving the lives around you. I see it as a bit more busy and more in the limelight in the sense that I can not necessarily seeking recognition, but to be in a place where I can be a resource to a lot of people,
mm,
you know, directly or indirectly. For
mm.
me, that is I hope my answer's clear on that one, but that's for me, that's how I see it.
Yeah, no, that's very clear. All right. And so the follow-up to that one is, right, this is Dripping in Black. We go out to the world. We have people listening to us all around the world. I want you to speak to our audience. How can they support you in getting you from your 7 to your 10? What is something they can tangibly do to support your aspirations of impacting in a positive way the lives of others?
I would say check my social media, follow, friend request, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, share podcasts like this, like I'll be doing. Listen to the message, spread that message, and you know, live through what you learned. I think that's the best way to do that for me. Check out my books. I think they're phenomenal. Of course, that's subjective, but it's a variety of things that give people different flavors for different types of readers, and It's meant for for anybody who needs extra boost. But you can buy your books, buy my books, by dswjr.com. And there you'll be able to click on the book links and it'll show up the variety of websites you can choose from to buy from. You can buy from me directly, send me an email on the website. And yeah, and then you'll be able to see my social media, some more stuff about myself, and I'll be putting up some more things on platforms in terms of the podcast. I want to display for the generosity that they've given me, that you've given me. So dswjr.com, dswjr.com, you'll be able to find everything there.
Yeah, awesome. That's exactly where I was going with that. All right, give us the book titles that you have. It's 4 books, right?
Yep. So the co-author book, Speak Young Brown People Speak, We Are Listening. Speak Young Brown People Speak, We Are Listening. And my first self-published book is Thoughts of Creativity King, 114 Realities. Thoughts of Creativity King, 114 Realities. My third book, but second self-published book, is Wisdom 45 Advice. And Wisdom 45 Advice. The last book I published is more recent. It's in June. I'm excited about this one. It's a dialogue-based book, but it's centered around self-help and changing perspective. That's called Conversations You Need. Conversations You Need. And you'll be able to check those out on my website. Again, dswjr.com. Yeah. So in those books, they're one's poetry based. That's the first self-published one, Creativity King. So like haikus and short stories. I'm drawing blanks. There's so much pictures, and there's spoken word. So there's a flavor for the creatives, for the people that generally just want to read and it's kind of their thing. They like essay-based books. There's 2 pictures in there for Wisdom 45 Advice, and it's more essay-based. Scatters of poetry in there, still kept it in. Conversations You Need. It's more of a dialogue-based book, as if you're reading a text. I've written that for people that don't necessarily read. You're not going to fall asleep. You're not going to look at it and be like, oh, this is so much, right? It's digestible and it gets to the point. It'll help you receive what you need to make progress in whatever area of thinking you can conceive of.
All right. Fantastic, man. Drop your social media. I know you gave us your website, but what other social media can people reach out? They're interested in your story, finding your book, and learning more about you, and it's just get in contact with you. Drop that social media for us.
Facebook, Dorian SWJR. Facebook, Dorian SWJR. And my Instagram is dswjr.18. dswjr.18. You might also see like dswjr.22. It's another page I have. I just made that one up. That was supposed to. My LinkedIn, Dorian Scott Withrow Jr. You'll be able to add me there. I couldn't read that message. I tried. I was I was lost in thought. But those are my social medias. That's my website. And yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, we have the people that are familiar with Zoom. We have the chat spot open, and our producer communicates through that chat a lot of times. Sometimes it's for me. I actually didn't have it where I could see it, so I didn't notice it was up until you said something. But good stuff there. All right, so I got a couple more questions. The last question is the most interesting question I think that we asked. But the question prior to that is, what's next for you? All right, what's on the horizon? What's coming up?
School. So I'm excited about what I'll be learning and what I can apply. I had a very interesting idea. So when I'm in these classes and when I get into my practice, I want to. It's a really cool idea. I don't want anybody to steal it. I'll go over it anyway. So what I'm going to do is
We have
All
editing power, so if you want us to cut it out, we can do it. So
right, you can probably cut it out, but it doesn't matter to me. I don't know, but so as I'm interviewing people, I want to legally but confidentially have these conversations with others that may be going through the same thing, and be able to at that time give advice or help them through an issue, perceive something differently, and grow, and also to help people do that, but also to share that they're not the only person. And I think we lose sight of that sometimes when we're going through our troubles. We, what I've learned, this is another small story I have. It's from when I was hit by a car when I was younger, so I had my leg broken and I was laid up for a while. I had a tutor come to the house. He I remember I was complaining one day, just casual conversation starter. I don't know if I was trying to get out of doing the lesson that day or something, but you fake a little pity and it'll go away. Um, I was like, "Oh man, my leg hurts," and he was like, in short, he was like, "Suck it up." But in the long answer he gave, he works with people that had injuries like me, but they have even worse things. Like this leg was going to heal. I'll be fine walking in no time. For others, they can't walk. For some people, they can't move their hands. They can't turn their neck. They can't really talk well, or they may not be able to talk at all. Um, a slew of situations where people just may not be living very long. So he was essentially telling me, of course, what you're going through is not ideal, but it is not the worst thing, and you're not the only one dealing with it. You're not the only one going through that. I got another story, sidetracked. It was along the same lines. I was in the hospital. I had a I had a little bit of pride to me, right? So this is like after the first surgery. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to get out and be seen in a wheelchair by anybody. I just thought that was like, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't shake myself. My little 12-year-old pride couldn't handle it. I don't want to be seen in a wheelchair. My mother and the nurse eventually convinced me to go down to the playroom with the nurse. So he wanted to go down there and kind of just get out and do something. And I was there just kind of laid up in the bed watching, scared straight, like since 1 a.m. And yeah, he brought me down, and that pride went away very quickly. I saw children who were bald. I saw people with IVs, broken arms, and slew of things. I don't know their specific conditions, but they were visibly in their own struggles. And I realized that I'm not the only one, you know. And we may not necessarily have this playroom, we at least don't acknowledge it or see it or recognize it, but we're all in a big playroom with people that have their own issues, either equivalent or higher. And it puts some perspective on complaining. It puts some perspective on, um, you know, seeing your conditions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You talked about the importance that learning your history played in kind of guiding you into the activism. Well, I'm by nature a history teacher. That's my bread and butter. And I just think about how important it is from a history standpoint, not just knowing people, but understanding context, right? The context is huge, and so there's different things that are going on throughout history, but you have to understand the context of the time to really fully get it. And so oftentimes we can't, it's like, I'm going off a little bit. It's like we do these things about the GOAT. When we talk about Michael Jordan, we talked about LeBron James. Well, Michael Jordan's getting so much older now, people don't even really understand the impact that he had when he was playing, right? It's go beyond just his playing. and you cannot recreate that context for people, with the exception of perhaps a documentary or a movie, if it's done right. The movie can elicit some of the same feelings that you would have felt if you were actually there. I can't think of any other medium that does that, but the context of history is important to fully understanding the history in itself. And the context of what we're going through helps us to understand exactly what we're going through a lot better. If we're not isolated in our situations, right? There's always something comparable. There's almost always something that's a lot worse than what you're dealing with as well. So it puts you in contact. All right, man. Great conversation. I feel like I could talk to you a little bit more about some things and go in depth. I'm excited for you. I just want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, and keep focusing on what you're focusing on. Keep that same spirit, man. Good things are going to happen for you. But I must get to the most important question that we like to ask all of our guests. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Have you ever been on the cover of a magazine?
No, I really want to.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? No, okay, I'll take that back. We it was a while ago though. So I did Jack and Jill of America. Now it was a magazine that we made within the organization. I got it. It's in the other room though. I got it though. It's so that was the only magazine I was on the cover of, and that would count. So that would be my first magazine.
Okay, a Jack and Jill magazine cover, and you were the feature of the cover, or you were just placed on there?
The whole group was, so we were in a group, but because this young guys, about like 8 of us, and we all got like, it was a GQ photo shoot almost. We all got in our suits and took the picture. We all got our individual pictures as well, like the group pictures for that magazine. I can I could take some pictures and send that to you guys. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll definitely get that. But let's get to why I asked that question. For each and every one of our guests, we placed them on the Dripping in Black magazine cover. And so S Squared Sean Smith is going to show you your Dripping in Black cover.
That's dope.
All right. So let it be known that this is the first cover that you were the feature. There's nobody else there. And it's the Dripping in Black magazine cover. All right.
I appreciate it.
All right. That is also a parting gift. We print those out, laminate them, and send them to our guests as a big thank you. If you look over my shoulders, these are guests from our first 3 seasons, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of splashed in there. We got so many, we can't get them all on the wall, and we got 2 up here that we're aspiring to get one day.
I see.
Yeah. So that's a big thank you for coming out and sharing your story with us. Any shout outs that you want to give before we close this thing out?
I think I got my shout outs out the way. I want to shout out Dripping in Black podcast for having me. You guys were very generous. I didn't even expect the magazine, but man, I'm gonna post that too. I'm excited about that. And I appreciate you for helping me promote and elevate my voice. And I also appreciate what you're providing for people as well. This is awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you for that. And the pleasure is all ours. We thank Dorian S. Withrow Jr. for stopping by the Dripping in Black podcast. Remember, we have the DIBK Drip Shop, in which you can find Dripping in Black t-shirts, shirts, and coffee mugs, and all kind of things that's Dripping in Black, designed to represent Black excellence. If you need something in your life to represent Black excellence, I ask that you go to the dibkdripshop.com and copy something from that website. All right. As always, a huge thanks to all of our listeners, viewers, supporters, and subscribers. And until next time, be kind, be loving, and be excellent on purpose. It is a choice.
On the next Dripping in Black podcast, is hairstylist and entrepreneur, Miss Whitney Marie.
Oh, it had a huge impact on me. So I was around a lot of people that was basically on their grind. So that pushed me. I always had a lot of ambition within myself too. So that just kind of like lit a fire up under me, being around like-minded people. And then also too, like even the shop that I was at, the owner of the shop actually like had people come in and like teach us different classes. So the atmosphere of the shop was just like really pretty. It was pink, black with glitter walls. So that was even more inspiring to me to just like continue to go further with doing hair.
You have just experienced a Dripping in Black production.